Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Dear ladies and gentlemen, before I start, I want to say this, declare this phrase actually, that all that I am or ought to be, I praise that to my beloved parents. And honored today with the presence of my beloved father here. And he definitely deserves a round of applause for bringing a one-of-a-kind, sorry about that, a one-of-a-kind, good-looking son. Okay, think like an innovator, act like an entrepreneur. I proudly can say that if you Google this and put a quotation on this, no one in the entire world have thought of this title. So we're here to share an experience. First of all, I need the key. Some people might think, why am I holding them? What am I doing with this box? We'll get to this. Well, unfortunately, nowadays, too many of us are not living our dreams. Actually, just because we're living our fears. One of the most great motivators of all times, for me, Zig Ziglar, defined fear once as false evidence appearing real. So it's false. So do you really want to be a disruptive business innovator? Does your work environment requires you to innovate and you stumble on generating new and novel ideas? What's wrong? Well, I'll share with you today how am I doing it. First of all, you've got to be courageous to innovate. And I really mean it from the heart, with a heart of steel. Actually, I was debating, should I go out with this box in front of all of you? I was like, yeah, I can do that. I can do that. Well, the origin of the word courage comes from a French word, which means the heart of the heart. That comes off the heart. That's courage. Shaja'a min al-qalb. Steve Jobs put this in a beautiful quote, and he said that the most important thing is having the courage to follow your heart and intuition. They somehow already know what you truly want to become. Yes, if you start innovating, you're going to be taking risks. Yes, if you're going to innovate, you're going to be challenging and changing the status quo. But to do that professionally, there are a set of 4 behavioral skills. Skill number 1 is questioning. I often ask questions that challenge others' fundamental assumption. All of us here, for example, have heard the phrase, think out of the box. Well, I always ask myself the question, have you ever seen that box? Did it ever exist? Why we limit ourselves throughout that box? So what I'm going to do today here, I'm going to destroy that elusive box in your mind so that you can be freed and think that the box never actually existed. So that's why it is. So life has no limitations except the ones you make for yourself. You've got to program your words carefully. If you're going to complain, that's not going to help. But if you start asking, how can I do that? What would happen if I did that? That's the kind of questions that you should try to trigger from time to time. Skill number 2 is experimenting. This is a personal story I'd like to share. Since I was 6 years old with my beloved father at house, and whenever something breaks down or the heater stops working or the switch doesn't work, we wouldn't call someone to come and fix it for us. It'll be like, you know what? Hey, bring in the tools. We'll see what would happen. So we'll try to fix things. We'll dismantle. We'll try them there. We'll try this out. And eventually, we actually do fix them. Actually, if you go ahead and do experiments and you become a scientist for a moment, you can start asking yourself a question, how do we fix things? You've got to have a hands-on experience. Academics and knowledge is fine, is the basis, but if you do not implement that, then what's the use of it? Skill number 3 is networking. This is not the normal terminology that you hear. It's not about like you go out and seek a job and network or to find a spouse or a social partner. It's networking for creativity. What I mean by networking for creativity, you go out and you meet people from different backgrounds, people from different ages. You never know. You have people from different even fields and industries. And you can regularly have that kind of discussion to trigger what's coming in and what's coming out of your mind. If you're in an executive position, and I can recognize a few faces here, and I'm very thankful for them for coming. If you're in an executive position and you can move your department or one of your teams to another department just to stir the creativity within the team, would you do that? That's a question for you guys. So one of those happened to me. One of those experiences happened to me when I was in a road trip with my mom, and we were in the middle of a conversation, and that's part of the networking. And she complained that she couldn't actually go to pray when the sunset prayer approached. So I mentioned a familiar mosque, and she said, no, I can't go there because the hygiene level is too low, and I just can't go and pray there. So that's why I started rehearsing the questioning part, and I came up with the Wudu robot idea, which I managed to win the Stars of Science among 30,000 inventors among the Middle East. Skill number 4, observing. Companies and even individuals get innovative ideas directly by observing how people interact with services and products. You've got to sit there and see how people are they fitting the KPIs? Are they there? Are they hitting the target? What's out there? The whole science of ergonomics based on observing. Ergonomics is like if you go and open the handle of your car, you'll see that it fits your hand. That wasn't just out of purpose. There was the science behind it, and that was ergonomics, which uses all of your observing. So those 4 behaviors, questioning, experimenting, networking, and ending with observing, are behaviors that triggers you to become a lateral thinker, to produce novel ideas. That's where innovation happens. There are 2 types of thinking: sequential in a pipeline, or lateral, and that comes in a horizontal way. That's where the innovation actually happens. So I'll take you through an exercise. Let's see that, for me, innovation is all about connecting the dots. So let's assume that this grid is knowledge. We move in, and we look at this, and this is what experience does. You start to know how to connect few dots. You don't have the full image. But let me show you what innovation does and creativity. Well, even if these skills we can relatively all do, most of us have lost those capabilities. But there is still a way to get them back. And as childish it may sound, as Dr. Bassett said, act like a kid. Just practice those. Look at the kids, 5, 6 years. They bombard you with questions. How? When? Let's do that. And they'll never hesitate. There is something I want to close with, which is someone's opinion of you does not have to become your reality. You can innovate. Thank you very much. And here is Mr. Talal.
Shukran, Sultan. Good morning. And indeed, it's a pleasure to be here standing before you to share with you my journey over the last 10 years or so as an entrepreneur. I've gathered through sweat, hard work, and a lot of long hours and sacrifices, several tools, which I actually put them in a box just to happen. So Sultan is destroying a box, but I'm bringing in another box. So just to start, I'd like to revisit the definition of entrepreneur. Entrepreneur is an individual who can actually exercise organization, which is taking initiative, and operates, and that basically shows tenacity and perseverance, and then assumes a risk for a business venture. And that's basically taking decision with incomplete set of data. But frankly, why would you listen to me? So I'd like to start by saying, yes, it is true. I started out with a single company about 10 years ago that actually had one lucky staff. That staff that I managed to convince and actually be crazy enough to work with me on day-to-day basis, I'm honored to say that he's present with you today. Hello. That was only local company. And we started very humble operation. The revenues was 33,000 Omani Riyals a year. Now, 10 years down the road, we are very proud to have 130 staff that span 9 countries, and we are actually doing operation across the border, and we are raking, thank God, a little bit less than 20 million Omani Riyals a year. So after all, you want to listen to me. So the first tool in the toolbox is the following. It's actually setting a vision. It is very, very important. This tool by itself was the single most important tool that actually set me on the path that I'm in at the moment. I had to prepare a huge tender for the first contract I wanted to win with a major oil company in Oman that insisted that they wanted to see how we think about to run the business as a small and medium enterprises. Not only I came there to convince them to give me a single contract, but I was laying on the table to them how I can achieve their approval to win 15 contracts by the year 15. That's why I called it Division 1515. I'm proud to say that it was ambitious, I was aiming high, and I tracked my progress, but eventually we actually achieved this vision by the year 2014. The second tool in the toolbox is setting the ethical standards for myself and also for the team. This was very important. This is the fabric of any healthy organization. You needed to have a very honest talk to yourself and also the rest of your team to make sure you set the borders correct. We, as entrepreneurs, have very frequent and irregular billing cycles. So in many cases, we will have errors. Sometimes the errors are actually to our benefit. So it's a must and a policy in our office to ensure that we communicate with our clients to tell them that we owe you money. Can you imagine if the travel agency or your mobile phone carrier calls you and tell you, we have money to give you? What would you do about business with this particular company? You would like to come back to them again because you have their confidence, your confidence. So good entrepreneurs not only set standards, but great ones live them on a daily basis. Moving on, taking decisions by incomplete set of data. And here, a master chef, just to give you an example, does not stop from actually, because they don't know what level of salt you prefer, from cooking a masterpiece. Networking is a very important part of this entrepreneur toolbox. And here, any successful entrepreneur needs to have multiple access to multiple networks. So you have the frequent access to an excellent or market network, and you have good access to your peers. And just like medicine, you need to have access to some people in higher positions so you can benefit from their own experiences. Optimism is one of the most profound skills for entrepreneurship. It's actually responsible for a leader gathering all the team activities towards achieving a focused and systematic approach despite the odds to get them forward. Pessimism is basically the fear of not to succeed. And this is true about the cup half full and half empty. It is up to you to decide. But you have to decide very quickly. Otherwise, the entrepreneurs will actually manage to sell your cup. Tenacity is the underlying foundation of the whole toolbox. all of these tools will not actually be as effective if you don't apply them with intensity all the time until you actually succeed. We have a very short motto that I crafted in our offices. You don't accept failure until you succeed. Recycling the investment, this is very important. You need a lot of the young entrepreneurs, they are lulled into a false sense of security because they make money in the first year and they start splurging out. And here is my advice. Do not do that. Fortify your young organization. Inject the money inside it. Allow it to grow further. A particular advice, avoid high-class car showrooms. Give back, and give back with energy. Give back with abundance. Give wealth to society and the underprivileged individuals, but also give back experience. Share the experience and the lessons and the failures inside your organization and also outside. And not the least, for the time, share your time with any aspiring entrepreneur. I hope throughout this talk now, you have heard at least one idea worth spreading. Now, I would like to leave you with the last one. Think like an innovator and act like an entrepreneur. Thank you for listening.